Hey guys, my name is Nicole and welcome to NicoleTopics, and today's topic is gonna be about things that I used to love but now I hate or just not really crazy about anymore. You know, for this whole decade I've changed a lot. Well, I mean obviously because in the beginning of 2010 I was a kindergartner. Now I'm literally only 2 years from being an adult. Facts. They hit me hard. But yeah, during these 10 years, there have been some things that I've really loved and would recommend it to anyone on the block. Now, if you were to ask me about them, I'd probably be hesitant. So yeah, let's just share some, shall we? Number one on things I used to love but now I hate are onesies, specifically PJ onesies. I remember when I was pretty young, I used to love wearing PJ onesies, but now I barely wear them at all, nor do I want to wear them unless I have nowhere to go the next day. Even then, me saying that is kind of a stretch. Out of this whole year, I've only wore a PJ onesie once, and that was for pajama day at my ballet class. I don't think I've ever worn a onesie last year at all either. Especially at the winter time where I live. It gets cold, especially in the mornings. The mornings and the nights are probably one of the most coldest times classically in the day. And you know, you wake up in a cold winter morning and you have to take a pee, so you unzip that thing off, and it's literally a whole production just to take that thing off to pee. Not to mention, when you pee, you feel all this cold air touch your bare skin, and now you're just shivering while you're using the toilet. I don't know, I just hate that feeling. I think what makes the onesies concept more frustrating is that it seems to be better if it was worn like during the summer, but since onesies are like these thick winter pajama material, it will just become too hot and you just can't really wear it. Are they cute? In my opinion, they are really cute. But would I want to wear them for like actually sleeping? No. I'd most likely wear a onesie now if there were like some special pajama day occasion, like I had a dance this year. Another thing I used to love but now generally dislike and not really recommend it to other people are Chromebooks. My middle school used to have Chromebooks, and for 6th grade I was pretty crazy about Chromebooks, mostly because they run faster. I mean, it can load up things pretty fast. It was also lightweight. At one point, Chromebooks were in my Christmas wish list for a new computer, but since the summer of 7th grade when I got a Chromebook, I started to not love it as much as I used to. One reason is because a lot of things are incompatible with that computer. And if you've been with this channel long enough, you'd probably know there's like literally a whole process just to play Roblox, but even then it's not just Roblox that makes me dislike this computer. When I say it's incompatible with most things, I mean like a lot of things. When I practice violin, a lot of songs that I use and to play with are on this music app called Smart Music. But due to the fact that Smart Music is a .exe file, I can't download that on the Chromebook, so therefore I have to practice my music on my mom's laptop. I do digital drawing once in a while, and every time I connect my tablet to my Chromebook, it does not recognize it, so therefore I have to draw on my mom's laptop. I do a little bit of computer science and web design time to time, and some software that I need, like Python, can be run on my Chromebook. Therefore, I had to use my mom's Lenovo Windows laptop. And so on, you guys get the point on how almost everything's incompatible with a Chromebook. Now, there is a few good things about the Chromebook, like it has a lot of memory and the other few things that I've listed out earlier. But unless if you're just planning to like just do school on it, I can't even say work because there are a few work things that you might need to download and it might not be supported on the Chromebook. Unless you're just gonna web surf and purely just use it for school, then yeah, I'd say a Chromebook is your best bet to go. But if you're just planning to use it for like work or play games on it or draw and stuff like that, especially if you are a parent planning to buy a Chromebook for your kid, I highly suggest you just buy a cheap Windows laptop because you're better off with that. Another thing I used to like to do was read. I kind of blame English class for doing this to me, but now if you were to tell me to like read a book, I actually not look forward to it, especially because there are some genuine times where I just do not have time to read. And I don't know, I feel I'm more of a visual person, I guess. And yeah, there was a time where I used to like to read. Then as the years went by, my love for reading kind of decreased. But yeah, the only reason I said earlier that I kind of blame English class for this is because I don't know about your guys' English class, but my English classes, especially starting at middle school, I just feel like the more they just force you to read things and make you analyze, I just feel like forcing me to read all these things and making me analyze and write stuff about them just removes all the fun out of it. When I read a book, I don't want to analyze what Billy Joe is doing and how come he did it. I just want to read about it and then turn the page and finish the book. If best, I'll talk about it, but I'm just the kind of guy who just wants to read a book and be done with it, no matter how interesting it is to me. The next thing I used to love, but now I'm not really crazy about anymore, is chameleon markers. Most artists know about this, but what a chameleon pen is, it's basically this marker where there's like compartments, you'll disconnect that thing and connect it in a different way, and the whole goal of that marker is to make an ombre effect with your drawings. My reason for not liking this thing as much anymore than I used to is pretty similar to Super Ray Drizzle's reason, which she explains in this video up above. I forgot what minute, but it's pretty similar reasons, so I won't really go that descriptive into it. But to summarize, what made me stop loving it as much was the time, because just waiting for the pen to not dry out, but the color to just lighten up to make that gradient effect, it's pretty time consuming. And even just connecting the marker and like attaching it and stuff, in my opinion, it's just really time consuming, and there are faster ways to do that kind of thing, even though it might be considered harder. I'm not saying I hate the pen. I think Chameleon is a really great brand and is perfect for if you're coloring in like a coloring book. But just for my purposes of using it, it's not exactly my cup of tea, and that's just my opinion. So in a way, I still recommend the product, but it really depends on what you plan to do with it. The next thing is also art related, but it's also coloring with crayons. During the early 2010 years, which was me in early elementary school, I would color with crayons a lot, just like any other 7-year-old kid. But as I went into like 4th grade, 5th grade, I kind of stopped using crayons and just stopped enjoying them much, because if you color, they have this waxy thing. And I know there's like methods of removing the wax, but even then, the crayons don't stay pre-sharpened forever, so you have to sharpen them and remove the paper, and I've just never had luck with sharpening crayon. Even when I sharpen it, doesn't look the same way as it does when you first open it from the package. Taking the wrapper off is also a stress, and even then when I sharpen the crayons, they've ruined a few pencil sharpeners that I've had at the time. So if anything, if I had to color in something from a coloring book, I would definitely use colored pencils rather than crayons. The next thing is holidays, specifically my birthday, Christmas, Halloween. Now, I don't hate these holidays, but I just remember back at like 2013, 9-year-old me would be so pumped for those days coming up, especially the night before, that I could barely sleep because that's how excited I was. But in the recent years, I just haven't had that spark anymore. I still get excited for Christmas, especially love wrapping and giving gifts to other people, but I just haven't had that same excited spark that 9-year-old me used to have. Like, if I get presents, I'm still thankful, but I'm not like over the roof cheery excited about it. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I really appreciate it, thank you. I still get excited for Halloween, but it's still not the same spark as it was back then at like 2012 or 2013. I mean, nowadays, the reason why I'll still get excited for Halloween or look forward to it is because I'll get to see my friends I don't really see all the time anymore. So Halloween is kind of our excuse to like meet up together. But I mean, even the trick-or-treating factor is just not getting that exciting anymore as it was back when I was like 8 years old. I mean, it's still fun to walk with my friends and go to like other houses and get candy from the neighbors. But if I were to trick-or-treat alone, without any friends, then I'd probably just not trick-or-treat at all. And since I turned 11 years old, I just haven't been looking forward to my birthday. I mean, I still get like pretty excited, but I also get really nervous and just hate the fact that I'm just getting older, because older just means more responsibilities and stuff like that. Yeah, that's my reasons. I don't hate them, it's just not the same feeling anymore. Like, maybe in like 2012 I would be like, I really love these holidays, but now I'm just pretty chill and I still like them because it's festive and I get to see my friends. But I don't know, the spark just kind of changed throughout the years, and I guess that's normal. I'm not meaning this in a bad way either, that's just my opinion and how I feel. So, 7th thing I used to love but hate now are rubber ponytails. My hair is a challenge just to put it into a ponytail. So when I was in the supermarket one day and my mom saw these rubber ponytails and she said, you know what, maybe you should try this, it might be better for your head. And you know what, for the first day and the few times I've used it, I was actually pretty thrilled with these rubber ponytails. It kept up my ponytail way better. But then as I kept using it, I realized that it's kind of like putting a rubber band up in your head. So yes, maybe putting it on is the easy part, but taking it off is so freaking painful and your hair just easily gets tangled in it, which is something I don't really experience with a regular elastic ponytail. If anything, I would use a rubber ponytail to lock the bottoms of like braids, but I don't really do braids. So yeah, this next thing is not fashion or art related, but it's about black dry erase boards, like the one behind me. Now when I found this black dry erase board from 5 and Below, I was pretty thrilled with it. I mean, just alone black dry erase boards just look cool and aesthetic, but the more I used it and experimented with it, and the fact that my white dry erase marker that came with the board is starting to die out, I just don't really like it as much anymore, because only a specific kind of marker works with it, and it has to be white. I have a lot of Expo dry erase markers and they're light colors, but they will not show up on that board. If I were to buy another dry erase board again in the future, I would definitely buy just a white dry erase board. I'm better off with that. But yeah, I used to be a big fan of black dry erase boards. It looked cool. I mean, that looks cool, but would I pay for it again? No. It's nice scenery, but if you want to write stuff on it, then no thank you. Next two things I will talk about are school supply related. Number 9 is any binders that are more than 1 inch for the rings. Back then, when I had to use binders every year for school, I used to not really care about binder ring size, and if anything, I would prefer to have like, I think a 2.5 or maybe a 3-inch binder. I would have like that easy to open thing, which by the way is still my preference when it comes to like how to open the rings. But now if I were to buy a binder, I would strictly choose 1 inch. I don't care if I need to buy 4 1-inch binders. As long as it's 1 inch, I am okay with it. The reason I prefer 1 inch is because it's so light and it doesn't take up that much weight in your backpack. For a short while last year at 9th grade, I had a 3-inch binder that would have all of my classes in it, except for like maybe a few like orchestra. And oh my god, the thing would barely fit in my backpack. It made my backpack so heavy. But as soon as I switched to using just a 1-inch binder, it definitely changed my life. And it's so much more lighter. Next thing I used to really love are spiral notebooks. Just like binders back then, I didn't really care about what kind of notebooks I would use. As middle school began, because during middle school I had to use a lot of spiral notebooks. The reasons for me ending up not liking them as much anymore is because of weight. I mean, spiral notebooks take up a lot of weight. They're not light unless you purchase a single subject notebook. Even then, single subject spiral notebooks are still pretty heavy and just take up so much room in your backpack. And also, I usually like to DIY my notebooks. DIYing spiral notebooks are just complicated, they're harder. And I've been more of a pro composition notebook now. I mean, they're lighter, they're easier to carry around, they're easier to decorate. If you buy Studio C notebooks, some of the notebooks they have, they're easy to tear the pages out. The last thing I used to love but hate is painting. Even acrylic painting. Now, is painting fun to do once in a while? Yes. Does it look pretty? Yeah, sure. Is it a fun thing to do with your friends? Absolutely. The only reason I don't really like them anymore is because it makes a mess. The thing that really agitated me as I do acrylic painting, like back in like 2016, was the cleaning up part. Not because I had to like clean up like around me, because I have to clean up the brushes. The water would be all black and muggy, and if you're gonna pour this into a sink that's right, you have to make sure you keep the water on, especially to make sure that it doesn't dry on the sink. And if there's paint on your hands and they're dried, it's like a production to wipe them off. Like I had to use Dawn dish soap a lot of times as I paint. So yeah, that's all the things I used to love but now I hate. And yeah, this is gonna be the very last video I create on this channel for the 2010 decade. I feel I've come a pretty long way with this YouTube stuff. What did you guys think of this decade? I personally think it's okay. I feel like 2010 started off with a bang, but then like it kind of ended a little bit shaky. I feel like 2019 though was a pretty self-evaluating year for me. A year of me to change myself, in better words, I guess. So 2019 was actually not a bad year for me. 2016 through 2018 though, those years stunk. And I will tell you guys about that later in 2020, because on Wattpad I plan to make this kind of like this memoir book of what happened during those years, and I feel like it gives out a pretty meaningful message. But yeah, I'll make sure I'll keep you guys posted on that. The beginning of 2010s were pretty good. I feel like I had a pretty good childhood, and so many good things have happened in this decade. Like I've started skating, which was one of the best things that came into my life. I went back to ballet. I hope 2020 for me personally will be better, or at least as good as 2010. I hope that I'll continue to do the things I love and enjoy. Kind of worried though, because 2020 is the decade where I'll be a young adult mostly. I feel like that's a main reason why a lot of like Gen Zs are just scared of this decade ending, is because once 2010 is done, that means we're technically no longer kids anymore of the decade. Most Gen Zs now are teens, and if anything, they are preteens. Some are even adults, and some will be a preteen in a year or two. 2020 will be Gen Alpha's childhood decade. Yeah, this video is almost 25 minutes now, raw footage wise. My main goal for 2020 is to really speak out and be a more confident person. I hope you guys like this video. Let's end 2019 and the whole 2010 decade with a bang, and I will see you next year. Cheerio!